I said I can store multiple data in form of the tabular format, right? So what kind of use case as respect of the UiPath, what kind of use case we get, right? Now use cases like, for example, client send us like some Excel files, right? Just like this Excel file, client send us Excel file, or from some application we can download that Excel file, right? And what we need to do, we need to perform some operations on that Excel file. For example, suppose from this Excel file, if I want to filter out something, right, then we can filter with help of some data table functionality as well, right? We can filter out something, and we need to delete unnecessary data, and again whichever result we'll get, again we need to send that data to my client. So this is a simple use case, right? Likewise, we have a lot of use cases. There are a lot of use cases which we can do in a Excel format, or you can say we can do in a Excel automation, right? So whenever we consider Excel, so that Excel consider a data table, or that we can consider that Excel as a data table. So how we can deal with that, we will see. Now for example, just consider we have this, you can say rp underscore challenge underscore days. This is my you can say one Excel file. Normally what we do, we can for example, I want to filter this Excel file. Okay, then what normally we can do here, we have this filter option, sort and filter. We can go inside this filter option, and according some filter criteria, we can, for example, I want to filter names on basis of the first name is equal to Jen, so we can filter in this way. So this is a manual operation. The same output we will get through my UiPath operations as well. There are a lot of operations with help of the data table which we can achieve through the UiPath, right? So if you see here in the UiPath, we have, see, this is a data table. It's kind of, you can say, programming language concept data table, right? So this data table is used everywhere in every programming language like .NET, Java, every software development language. This data table concept is available, right? So if you see add data columns, add data row, build data table, this we will see one by one, right? Clear data table, right? Then if you want to sort data, right, sometimes the we have this data, I want to sorting, right? Sorting, that means I want to sort the data in form of like A to Z perspective. So that functionality is also available here. If I have duplicate rows, right, if I have, there are a lot of data with me and I want to remove some duplicate rows, so that also I can perform, or that also I can achieve. See, remove duplicate rows, remove data rows, remove data columns. There are a lot of things which we can perform through the data table operations, right? If you click on this manage packages, right, and also if you click on the all packages, and if you put like data table, apart from this existing UiPath activity, there are other activities also which is available in the packages. So from there also you can perform so many activities. If you see here, data table utilities dot activity, which is created by Virang. As I said, we can also create the data table, or you can say we also create the our reusable component, right? Once you learn this UiPath, and once you take a good you can say learning, or you can perform some operations, or you can go with live projects, and once you learn the UiPath, you can also able to create your own reusable component, and you can publish that reusable component as well. If you see data table dot activities by Lakshman, likewise we can also go with the, and we can also use, or we can also create the reusable component and publish to use throughout the UiPath, right? If you see Balareva data table dot activities, if you see add data row range, remove data row range, group by aggression, right? So whichever functionality which we cannot achieve from this existing UiPath activity, that functionality we can achieve through this you can say third party DLL. This is the third party. Why I am saying this is the third party? Because if you see, this is created by Bala Murugan. This is not this activity is not created by the UiPath. So this left hand side, this all properties or this all activities are created by the UiPath itself, but this property or this activity is not created by the UiPath. This is created by some other person, individual. That's what I am saying. This is a third party DLL, or this is a third party activity. So from from here also we can you can say we can achieve so many result, right? Because when we go with the data table concept, when we automate the Excel file, there are a lot of things which we need to perform actually, right? And to achieve that, we have a lot of things. With help of that, we can achieve easily, right? Now we'll see how we can go with the data table, right? How we can consider that functionality, or how we can take that Excel file and how we can set that Excel file as a data table, and which kind of activities we can perform on that data table, right? So first of all, we will take now what I need to do in this case. Now for example, I want to read Excel file, right? What I need to do, I need to read Excel file. So to read Excel file, we have two activities. I'll simply put Excel. Once I put the Excel, you will see Excel application scope. Which activity is this? Excel application scope. And if you just hover this mouse on that Excel application scope, you will see open an Excel workbook providing a scope of Excel activities. When this activity ends, the workbook and the Excel application are closed. If the specified file does not exist, a new Excel file is created, right? Three-liner they have mentioned. Open an Excel workbook providing a scope of Excel application, Excel activities, right? So what I'll do, I'll simply click this Excel application scope here, right? Excel application scope. You will see in this Excel application scope we have two you can say sections. First is workbook path. Now workbook and Excel, it's same, right? Workbook, sometimes we call it as a workbook, and sometimes we can call it as the Excel S. Again, Excel Excel has again some, for example, 123.xls, right? 123 dot some Excel has like XLSX, extension of XLS, right? So they both are same. You can say this extension is little bit different, but we can consider this as a Excel file only. Okay. Now workbook path, as I said, Excel and workbook, they both are same. Workbook path text must be coded. That means we need to provide where this Excel file is physically presented. When I say physically means now this file, this Excel file, these all files are physically present in this drive like D and RPA class. This is a physical. Sometimes files are available in the virtual as well, right? Now this is my physical path. We need to provide the physical path where that Excel file is available, right? Now what I need to do here is, we have one folder option, so I'll just click on this folder option here, and I need to provide that physical path, right? Now from here I'll take this, for example, challenge file, right? Now if you observe that, see, now when I click on the Excel application scope and I am not providing anything here, so at very first this error, this red color means error, right? None of the overload groups have all their required optional activities argument configuration. That means it's mandatory to start this Excel application scope program. You need to provide some path here. Okay, so that's what they have provided this you can say error with me, or error with this activity, right? So what I'll do, I'll simply click on this folder option in this RPA class. Now I'll just choose challenge, you can say 5. Now once I choose that error gone away. Now in this Excel application scope we have multiple properties as well. Right, one more thing. So each and every properties or each and every activity has their own, you can say, classes. Class means it's little bit on technical side, but if you see UIPath.excel.activity.excel application scope, it's an class for that Excel application scope. At background, when UIPath is created, to create this Excel application scope activity, some code needs to be written at background. So with help of this UIPath.excel.activities.excel application scope class, this activity has been created. It's for knowledge purpose only. Okay. Now you will see, like in properties, you will see display name. you can provide any name here, whichever. Now for example is Excel application scope, I'll just put demo purpose, right? Demo purpose, right? I have just changed name here. Now you will see edit password, right? And you can say workbook path. This is my workbook path, or you can say Excel path. Edit password, we can provide some password as well, right? Whenever we run the bot, they will ask some password, because this is, you can say, Excel file has some secure data as well, right? So it's necessary sometimes we need to provide some password there, right? Client will provide that password, so the same password we can use inside that Excel password, right? But it's not mandatory. Sometime it's depends on the client requirement. They will provide that password because of the security reason, right? So we can provide the password as well. We can edit that password. Okay, now if you see here options, we have like create if not exist. What do you mean by this? Right, now we have this, you can say D in this physical path, we have this challenge 5.xlx6 available, right? This file is already available. Now if you see here create if not exist, and if I'll this is the checkbox, that means I have avail this service, or you can say if I am availing this property, right? Now that means what do you mean by this? For example, if I want to create a separate Excel file which is not exist, if you see create if not exist, if I want to create a new Excel file which is not exist physically, then with help of this option I can create that as well. That we will also, that we'll see. Instance cache period, it's an, you can say, technically the cache period, right? Cache means when we create something at background, that specific cache memory is required to do some operations, right? It's a little bit on technical side, right? Macro setting, that is also technical, like enable. By default it's enable. We can, now if you say read only, right? If I'll check this checkbox as checked, that means I can only read this. I cannot edit my program, or I cannot edit this Excel application scope property, right? So save changes check means whenever we write the code and whenever we save this, or we can say automatically it will save changes. That's what this it's checked. Visible check, that means whichever activity my bot is performing, that I can see that, right? So that's what I this is also by default property, right? Again, if you now this is important one, like if you see output workbook, right? Now I have used this Excel, right? And what I need to do, usually whenever we I'll just assign some activity, I'm for example I have assigned something, right? To store that specific value I need to create a variable. The similar way, now to store this you can say in this case challenge 5.xlsx data, I can create this data table variable. So how we can create that, or two ways, as I said, two ways we can create the data table. From here also we can create that, or for example when I created this data table from here, I can use that variable here. We will see both of, for example, now for example this is my Excel application scope, right? And if you want to create the Excel variable here, so what I'll do, I'll simply click on this button and simply I can use Control K VAR as a standard VAR for variable, and DT, normally data table, DT stand for data table. So normally where DT is used to you can say assign a data table variable or create a variable, right? Anyway, so where DT stands for where for variable, DT stands for data table. Okay, so once I create this where DT, you will see main sequence and variable type as, you can say, data table, or you can say Excel uh, data table, right? Where DT is equal to data table, right? this is a workbook. Okay, so for data table here, for example, if I'll create a workbook, control K, where workbook. Okay, so here I'll use where workbook. It's an output as a workbook. Workbook is nothing but as a Excel file. For this data table we have one activity, right? For this data table we have one activity. Now what I have done until now, I have just assigned a particular Excel file to this Excel application scope, and to hold this whole Excel I have created one variable called as a workbook. That means I have opened that workbook. In this way we can go with that. Okay, I have opened that Excel file, right? Now what I need to do, I want to hold that Excel file data in a data table. So for that, in Excel application scope we have one activity called as the read range. Which activity we have? Read range, right? Again we have two things like workbook and the Excel, that we will discuss later on. Now what I'll do, I'll just take this read range activity. So before that, what I'll do, if you see, if you just hover this read range activity, you will see like reads the value of a range in a range Excel format from a spreadsheet as a data table. Now spreadsheet, again that Excel, you can say that Excel, inside this Excel, if you open that Excel, that data is in form of the spreadsheet, right? That data, we can say this is also spreadsheet, right? Sheet, right? If you see, this is my sheet 1, this is my sheet 6. If I'll click on this, again sheet 2 is, we can create as many as sheets. So this is called as the spreadsheet. Okay, now if you see read range in range Excel format from a specific as a data table, I'll simply click on this read range activity, right? Read range, again read range. What do you mean by range? Range means, now this is my Excel file, or you can say spreadsheet. This is my sheet 1, or this is my spreadsheet. Now I want to read data, right? I want to read this spreadsheet data. So with help of this read range, I can read the whole data from this specific sheet 1 spreadsheet, or I can only read specific range data. Range means, for example, if I want to read this data, I can only, if I want to read only the specific data, I can read that as well. Range, read, I am reading a specific range from, like from this, you can say B4 to E8. So from, you can say B5 to, you can say E9. So likewise we can read a specific range as well, right? So if you see, this is my sheet 1. As I said, we have a lot of sheet with us. For example, we have a lot of sheets like sheet 1 to sheet 10, and from which sheet and which spreadsheet data I want to read, that also we have to pass. Like in this case, and by default it's in sheet 1. So sheet 1, as I said, this is my sheet 1, and read range. Now, and if you see in this, you can say again here also in this property you can say range. Sheet name is equal to sheet 1. Now add headers. This is my headers. Which is this? This is my headers. Like this is my headers. If I want to read, or if I want to consider this first, you can say first line as a header, then we can check this. And if I am not checking this, that means the first line will not consider for me. That we will see in a practical way, right? So by default it's an check, right? Now what I'll do, I'll now if you see in this read range activity, this output will provide as a data table, right? Data table. So again we'll create data table in two way. From here, if I'll create the data table already, I can assign this data table value here. Otherwise, with help of the control K, we can create the data table, right? So here I have already created that from that variable panel, so I'll use the same var dt, right? Var dt. As you if you see, this is a variable symbol, right? So var dt, right? So I'll just simply use var dt. Okay. Now var dt. Now that means now whichever data I have in this spreadsheet sheet 1, now this validity is hold all of that data. How we can check that, right? So we have, as I said, data table has lot of, you can say, functionality, right? So what I'll do, I'll here simply put one message box to check, right? To check how this data table will work or what kind of functionality data table has, right? So simply what I'll do, I'll use again validity dot. Okay, now as you will see here, there are a lot of things like accept changes as data views, as enumerable, as text, clear. There are a lot of things, lot of functionality we have with help of that data table data set, right? So from here now I want to check in this existing Excel file how many rows are available, right? Validity, now I'll use rows dot count. I want to read, or I want to check the count of the rows which is available in that Excel file. So I have just mentioned validity dot rows dot count, right? So now if I'll run this one, right, if I'll run this Excel file, you will see validity is equal to 3. Now I'll open this file, right? What output we will get? 3, na? So I'll just open this file, okay, challenge 5. See, this is my challenge 5, right? Challenge 5. And what is my sheet number? Sheet number is like sheet 1. And if you see, as output 3, that means I have 3 rows, 1, 2 and 3, and invoice number is my header. Invoice number is my header, so they are not considering that row, right? Because I have checked, or this by default is checkbox is checked, add header is equal to checkbox. That means now I have these 3 rows inside my data table. Okay, sheet 1 data table, right? So this is a single one of the properties which we can use. There are a lot of activities, or there are a lot of functionality which is available in the data table. Got it? Now this is fine. We have not choose any range here. I have not chosen any range here, right? I have not chosen any range here. Now what I'll do, so now I want to only access this particular data, right? If I want to access, or if I want to read a specific data, right? For example, A12, you can say C5. This is RPA underscore challenge test, right? So I'll just go with this. I'll just change that, right? First I have to change that. RPA underscore challenge underscore test, right? This one. Okay, so I'll choose, I need to get a data like A1 to C6. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to send that specific range inside double quotes. This is my range, A1 to C6, right? A1 to C6. In this way we can provide the range, right? How we can provide the range in this way. A1 colon C6. This is my first, you can say, column number, or you can say that cell number. It's not a column number, it's a cell number, right? This is a cell, we can call it as a cell, right? So C1, or you can say A1 to C6, right? A1 to, you can say, C6, right? A1 to C6. Now I have given this specific range here, right? And add header is, you can say, check. Now again, if I'll run this, we'll see what output we will get. See, 5, right? So in this way we can perform a data table functionality. There are, as I said, there are a lot of functionalities. Okay, now we will see all that functionality one by one, but in this way you can create the data table variable and you can hold all the data which is available on the spreadsheet, that all data now this data table or this data table variable will hold. So why this data table is come into the picture, right? As we have integer data table or integer variable type, string data variable type, right? But if now just consider this example, now in this example we have a lot of values, right? Like almost we have more than 500 values we have, right? If just consider, if we don't have the data table and if you want to work with this spreadsheet, so for each and every value I want to create some variables like integer to store integer value, to create string to store the string value. So there are a lot of variable which we need to create, and it's not, you can say, good practice, right? Or it's not a good practice to create so many codes, unnecessary code. So now because of that, in the data table within a single variable type or within a single variable, we can hold all this data and we can perform lot of activities or lot of functionality with help of that data table, right?